name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to some more Total War Rome 2. Today we are diving right back in with another online battle. Today a field battle. We generally do a lot of siege battles, but it's always fun to dive into a field battle because it just provides interesting tactics, different strategies being employed by both sides, and new units, a lot more cavalry, a lot more chariots and elephants and stuff like that you generally wouldn't see in a battle of, when we're fighting for a siege or a castle or, whatever it may be. So in today's engagement, we have a force from Massalia and Parthia going up against the Kingdom of Kush and the Nabati. I believe this is the Nabati. Again, yeah, it definitely is. And again, we don't get to see them too often either. They don't really get brought too much in siege battles, so it's always great to get the chance to actually witness what they're capable of on the open field, because yeah, they can do some serious work if left alone. So if we take a look at the Parthian side of things, they're mainly using the Massalians as a front line, the Parthia obviously being a great cavalry faction, and that's one of the reasons why they're probably bringing them alongside. So on the front line, we do have the mercenary Gallic hunters, who have some elephants back here supported by some noble blood cavalry. We've also got a line of 4-axe swordsmen, some of the best swords in the entire game, so definitely something I would rely on in the front line to hold the enemy back. We also have some axe infantry and also the Hypassus lancers right back there. On the flanks, we also have a couple units of Massalian hoplites just to hold the enemy at bay. But as you can see, no infantry whatsoever by the Parthians. The Parthians have gone complete cavalry, and yeah, I love to see it. I love the micro intensity of the Parthians, and I mean their cavalry just looks spectacular as always. A whole ton of royal cataphracts on the flank, supported by some noble horse archers as well. One of the great things about these noble horse archers is that they can just do just as well in melee combat as they can by shooting that bow. So very deadly indeed. And I'm assuming what we're going to plan on trying to do is to split the enemy into by doing this, drawing them out, and then just ripping through the center. So we'll have to see if that does play out like that, and if the defenders can hold them at bay. Speaking of which, the forces of Kush and Manabati on their front line, we've got the armored Sholta warriors, a great match for the 4-axe swordsmen. They're supported by some royal Kushite archers. Again, this is an amazing unit for the exact reason of these guys can actually deal with the horse archers. They can fire volley after volley. That longer range is going to come in absolutely clutch and just try and bring down their opponents before the horse archers can really go to town on them. They also have some cheaper swordsmen just in the back lines, and then some cavalry of their own, some Kushite Royal Guard. Definitely not something to sniff at, that is for sure. And then over on their flank, they do have 4 units of cavalry. They have 4 units of these desert horsemen. Obviously, no match for the cataphracts whatsoever. So they're going to be hard-pressed to really dominate in this battle, but I'm sure they'll give it their best shot. Over on the Nabatean side, we do have 4 units of the Nabatean Royal Noble Cavalry. So again, this is actually a pretty decent horse. And we'll be able to at least hold its own for a little bit against the Parthian cataphracts. They also have 4 units. I love to see it. 4 units of these scythe chariots. Absolutely amazing. And I can't wait to see if the Nabatean player can use these guys effectively, because they are really cool. Ultra cool horses. And yeah, we're very excited to see what they can do. So yeah, let's start the battle. And we're obviously starting this battle with the Parthian cavalry rushing off to the flanks, looking to go right around, try and stretch their opponents as wide as possible. And like, this is something that if you ever come up against this, you basically want to fall into the same trap that the Romans did at Currahee. You want to stay close together, and you just want to bulldoze your way into the center, because the thing is, their center is extremely weak. They've only got 1 player there holding that front line. So because of that, your 2 armies can just absolutely envelop and destroy the Massalian forces that are kind of just holding up here. The more room and the more you split up, the worse it's going to be. And it does seem like the players aren't heeding my advice, and they are kind of leaving a huge gap in the center, which might come back to bite them immediately. The Parthian horse archers, I imagine, will be getting in range very soon as the noble cavalry from the Nabateans do begin to chase them. Horse archers are going to be letting off a volley or 2. You need to make sure that they are skirmishing, though. Don't want to stay too close, and already taken off a horse or 2, which is actually pretty big. It adds up, it really does. So they're going to be pulling back there. Also got some cavalry maneuvering in. Are they going for the front lines, or what the hell are they up to? Maybe looking for the cavalry, or maybe just looking to kind of, you know, eat up all of this horse. It'd be pretty risky of them to go in for this, honestly. And this is kind of one of the problems you find yourself in when you are skirmishing with cavalry, is you dive in, and then as you pull out, the enemy archers, if they're good, will hammer you as you retreat. Unfortunately, they couldn't get a shot off there, so Parthians got off kind of lightly. And yeah, I really like what the yellow team are doing right now. They're playing this battle very smart, very passive, and yeah, bringing their entire army over to this left-hand side. Going to try their best to keep one of the players on the far right busy with all of this cavalry. And here you go, you do get the charge off. Going to try and keep the Nabatean player busy whilst they gang up on the Kingdom of Kush. As the cavalry fight does engage, horse archers and cavalry smashing into the back lines. Luckily though, these heavy archers do manage to get out just in time. And it's really important, it's really important that these this infantry reinforces this fight, and it doesn't seem like they are doing it, and the Parthians are just going to come flying in. I mean, I guess the battle is kind of far off, but look at that, right into the back end. Then they want a Nabatean sandwich with extra Nabateans, because they're getting it right now. Completely coming right into the back of the enemy formation, and the Parthians are just running amok right now, ripping through the Nabateans. And as soon as they lose this cavalry force, that is going to be atrocious. The Scythe chariots are arriving, but this isn't exactly what the Scythe chariots are particularly designed for. They're not designed for these cavalry engagements. They're designed for smashing through infantry and then carrying on going through the back lines into the enemy missiles and just basically not stopping. Right now, they're not going to really have the mass to run through horses like they would infantry. And that's going to be pretty scary. I'm really surprised that this guy hasn't sent his infantry over here. That's one of the advantages of having a cavalry fight right here, is that you can quite quickly just reinforce this battle with infantry and turn it in your favor. But he's basically just stuck in the mud right now, and that's, yeah, going to come back and really hurt their chances of victory. And just look at this as well. The Kingdom of Kush are so far over, and this is already just looking like an absolute massacre right now, honestly, from the Massalian point of view, because, you know, they've got all of his cavalry right here that is obviously going to come flying into the back. Obviously, Kush can't deal with it alone. I mean, you've also got the entirety of the Massalian army as well. So, as you can see, these guys are playing pretty well together so far, as the mercenary Gallic hunters are firing off volley after volley. And I think that's something that you don't get to see too often in the Massalian roster, honestly. Are the players bringing a lot more barbarian units, which can really benefit their roster. I guess a lot of the time there's no need, because you can just bring the 4-axe and the 4-axe get the job done. But it is always great to see when the players do decide to, you know, kind of mix up the rosters a bit, bring chariots, bring more Gallic axe warriors and stuff like that, because they can really fill a hole in the enemy formation. And we'll go back onto normal speed now, as the enemy lines are getting closer and closer. Ready to commit now. The Shotel warriors as far forward as possible, throwing off their javelins. But again, they're throwing their javelins off into the axe warriors, so nothing too crazy. And then obviously receiving the javelin fire as well from the 4-axe behind them, losing a handful of men. And just, oh my god, this is yeah, this is pretty scary. Luckily, the chariots obviously survive. The chariots are sturdy, and even though they're not going to kill the cavalry, they're not going to die to it either, so they can carry on doing their thing. But they are getting shot to pieces, and that's one of the advantages of the noble horse, is that they're fairly mobile for how heavily armored they are, and they can deal with a unit like this. They can just, you know, fire volley after volley, take care of the horses, and that'll see the end of it. Again, I really hope that the noble swordsmen, what are they doing right now? They're just sitting here, just not helping out their allies. What they should really do is just commit up here, 2v1 the Massalian player. But at this point, it's kind of too late. It really is. They just need to get a move on, get around here, and yeah, hit this guy on the side, because chances are that he won't be able to deal with all of this infantry. And if the Nabatean player was here with like 5-6 units of infantry, oh, they would run through this Massalian army very effectively. And you can see they are still managing to take care of a handful of the infantry pretty nicely, because these Shotel warriors are like elite, but they're finding themselves enveloped because Massalian player has simply gone all infantry. And you're even seeing some Parthian cavalry now make it around the back. Unfortunately, this one getting cut down. Nice move there by the Kingdom of Kush, raising the banners, bringing down as many of these horses before they can get into the back of the warriors. However, they still manage to find their way in. But then you're getting Massalian hoplites. Like, if you're getting outflanked by Massalian hoplites, you've kind of done something wrong. That is for sure. And now the cavalry, the Parthian general going deep into these Kushite warrior archers. Man, that was insane. Yeah, this is a brutal battle, but you love to see it, you really do. You love to see the Parthians just being used efficiently. You love to see the players coming in with a clear set of objectives. And they definitely had a great plan, and yeah, like right now, all you're seeing is a little bit too late. With only 4 minutes left of this battle, you're now seeing the Nabateans reinforcing this line, but the Parthians are coming up. A nice chariot charge. The chariots are getting stuck in and doing what they're supposed to do. Ripping through the infantry line. You know, going in from line after line after line. And they're doing exactly what this should have been happening. And you can see it's very effective right now. But it's late. You know, this should have been happening as soon as the lines clashed. And unfortunately, a lot of the Massalians are now in the back line with a whole Parthian army up here. Or we're getting elephants moving in as well, looking to reinforce this. And I can't imagine the Shotel warriors have a lot to deal with the elephants. So they're actually going to be very effective here. And it's always great seeing the elephants really get involved in this battle. Absolutely tearing the front lines apart. I think we already know where this battle is going. Balance power is not massively in favor, though, of one side, of the Massalians. Like, you'd think it would be a lot more, but it's probably because there's a lot of infantry here that is just being completely harassed. The Parthians picking these guys apart. They're trying to reinforce, but they are being constantly harassed by the horse archers, making them pay for every single inch they take on this field. Volleying in, volley after volley. You can see it's not killing a ton of men. It's killing like 6 or 7 every single volley, but that adds up. You know, there's only, it only takes, 15 volleys and that's the entire unit gone. And the Massalians have completely ripped through the Kingdom of Kush in the center. They did not stand a chance going up against just such a superior force. So this is a clear example of how not to play against a force like this. And hopefully you guys would learn a few things from how, what you should do in these situations. Do what the Romans did in Currahee. Clump up, push forward, and engage a Massalian army. Obviously, they could just, kind of constantly withdraw from battle, but unlike Currahee, there's not kilometers and kilometers of, space for the Parthians to retreat to. There is a finite amount, and the Kingdom of Kush and the Nabateans had a ton of missiles they could utilize to counter-fire and counter-battery the enemy horse archers. So they definitely should have just, kind of formed up into one big army and pushed forward against the Massalians, protected their flanks. Because even with, if you put the Kingdom of Kush and the Nabatean cavalry force together, they still had a pretty mighty force as well, when it comes to cavalry. So it's not like they were completely outmatched. We are seeing, though, the forces being thrown forward. The Nabateans finally arriving, however. It does seem like it is a little bit too late. Kingdom of Kush does still have a handful of men still fighting bravely, but I think this is all she wrote for Kush, at least. The Parthian horses ripping through heavily armored axe warriors, being sandwiched between that Cataphracts and the Massalian hoplites. Elephants up on the hill. Again, reinforcing their friendly units. Not looking too good, and then constant harassment as well. Luckily, that was nice though. The Nabateans did manage to turn and face against the Parthian cavalry. When they can turn and face and brace, they can really do a lot of damage to the Noble Blood Cavalry. But unfortunately, it's just not enough. And yeah, look at this. Just completely envelopment, charging, firing volleys into them. Brutal, brutal stuff. And yeah, the Kingdom of Kush completely broken down. Now we only have a handful of units left remaining. 5 or 6 of these brave men as they make their last stand. And exactly, this is a great idea to do as well. It'll really clump up your men so you have huge unit mass. This is definitely stuff they should have done earlier on in the battle. That could, I mean, just look how much is left. This is a crushing defeat for the Kingdom of Kush. And hopefully this will be a lesson to you all to beware the Parthian cavalry. Because you can see like how little damage the Parthian cavalry does do when you charge it. When you charge into the front of a unit, and they're braced, it really doesn't do that much damage. Yeah, you're going to take casualties, but the cavalry's going to take just as many casualties. I think you know the Nabateans have kind of given up here, just charging into the forlorn hope. They're going to find themselves with a lot of cavalry in their back momentarily. Yeah, the Parthian cavalry just swoops around. And yeah, just descends upon these brave warriors. It's kind of disappointing as well, because I was looking forward to seeing how well these noble swordsmen would do. It's a unit I don't really get to see too often, so it would have been cool to see what they were made of. And look at that, like kind of just, you know, freeze frame. You may have wondered how I got here. Flashback 2 weeks, just marching through the desert. Close victory. I don't really know how that was a close victory. That was an absolute massacre right there. The Parthians and the Massalians going in hand and toe, like just absolutely running through their opponents. And generally, I don't really do battles when they're just kind of this one-sided, but I thought that was, you know, a fun battle to show you guys how not to play against the Parthian Course Archer army and stuff that you could do to kind of defend it. You know, it's a real good, like, you know, this can be brutal to deal with if you don't really know how to. But in a 2v2, you just kind of clump up with your allies, form one big army, deep ranks, push on the Massalians, rip their army apart, and the Parthians will have to commit themselves to you. So hopefully that helped. I'm also pretty interested to see 200 kills on the Melephants, barely any casualties. All the Parthians doing some pretty disgusting stuff. Because for the most part, the Massalian army, you know, is good because they haven't spent any of their money on cavalry. But they kind of, they still won't be able to hold up against two full forces, you know. Even after getting hammered by cavalry, these armored Shotel warriors went to town on the Massalians, so really deadly stuff right there. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you drop a like and a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.